What's up guys and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Trivia. This week we're doing another archetype and we're doing the Blue Eyes and the With Eyes of Blue archetype. First up, the Blue Eyes is an archetype of light attribute dragon type monsters used by Seto Kaiba. Thematically, it has been stated that Blue Eyes represents power, while Red Eyes represents potential. Though members have existed since Starter Box theatrical release in 1999, it only received its first support with Priestess with Eyes of Blue in 2015, with further support in Shining Victories. That's pretty crazy really, considering how popular the Blue Eyes White Dragon is. Having to wait 16 years for some support? Wow. Anyway, the With Eyes of Blue is a series of level 1 light spellcaster type tuner monsters that support the Blue Eyes monsters. So, how about we take a look at all the cards and hopefully I remember them all because there's quite a few. Blue Eyes White Dragon. Its card text reads, "This legendary dragon is a powerful engine of destruction. Virtually invincible, very few have faced this awesome creature and lived to tell the tale." Now, despite being called a white dragon, this monster is usually depicted as a blue one. After Token, this card has the most alternate artworks in the OCG and TCG, with 8 in total, beating out the next contender, Dark Magician, by just 1. This also excludes the Dark Magician girl, who technically has the most artworks due to censoring between the Japanese and international versions. With the release of Starter Deck Kaiba Reloaded, this card is the only card that has been printed in all rarities in the TCG, except for Starfoil Rare, Shatterfoil Rare, and Mosaic Rare. I have never heard of those rarities before. Shatterfoil and Mosaic? What's that? Okay, apparently after doing some research, Shatterfoil Rare is a rarity introduced in Battle Pack 3 Monster League. According to Konami, they feature a shattered glass style image using the same technology seen in later dual terminal sets. And the Mosaic Rare cards have a shiny pattern of squares over the entire card face. Apparently it's similar to the Starfoil Rare cards, except that the pattern are squares instead of stars. Yeah, this is definitely showing my age now. I haven't bought the actual cards in ages, so this is something I want you guys to do for me. Put in the comments a list of the rarities in order of their actual rarity. So like common, rare, super rare, ultra rare, sort of put them in that kind of order if you can. Because where does Shatterfoil, Mosaic and Starfoil sort of fit in? Are they like just above rare but below super rare, or are they above super rare? If there's an answer to that question, let me know in the comment section below, but otherwise, let's get back to the video. So, this card is the cover card for the first TCG expansion, Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon. And this card has the highest attack of all normal monsters. This monster appears in the artworks of Burst Stream of Destruction, Dimension Explosion, Dragon's Fighting Spirit, Majesty with Eyes of Blue, and Meteor Stream. This card's third and fourth OCG TCG artworks are taken from the monster's depiction on the title page of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Duel 41 Dual Disc Battle. So this card is Seto's signature card. It shares its 3000 attack with the rivals of the other series, such as Chaz's Arm Dragon level 10, Jack's Red Dragon Archfiend, Kite's Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, and Reggie's DDD Doom King Armageddon. In the Viz translation of Kaiba's duel against Ishizu, Kaiba states that the Blue Eyes embodies his soul. This is interesting because Jack Atlas calls his Red Dragon Archfiend my very soul in the Japanese version. As well, Kite calls his Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon his soul. There's a woman named Kasara, who Maiden with Eyes of Blue is based on. She once carried the spirit of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. She and Seto Kaiba once shared a deep connection in the past, and this is why Kaiba adores his Blue Eyes in the present. This card shares similarities with the Cyber Dragons, who were the Blue Eyes' spiritual successors in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. As well, their fusions are quite similar. Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon and Cyber Twin Dragon are similar, as well as Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, and Cyber End Dragon. Ironically, while this card has been printed in several sets in the TCG and OCG, making it one of the most common cards of all time, this card is actually one of the rarest officially printed cards of all time in the anime and manga, with only 4 copies having ever been printed. And fun fact, the Jump Ryu Volume 8 promotional card print of this card features Seto Kaiba in its artwork. Pretty cool. Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. This card is a retrained counterpart of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, much like how Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is a retrained counterpart of the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This card's effect is based on the effect of Burst Stream of Destruction. It can only destroy one monster with its effect, but it is the only Blue Eyes White Dragon that is prevented from attacking. Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. So this card is the Toon counterpart of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. This card is tied with Toon Ancient Gear Golem for the highest attack of all Toon monsters, and in the anime, Seto Kaiba dislikes this card, as he sees it as a disgrace to the original Blue Eyes White Dragon. This card's OCG and TCG artwork is taken from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Duel 50, the Deadly Duelist King, specifically from the panel where the monster takes form. Malefic Blue Eyes White Dragon. This is a malefic version of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. This card is the mentioned Blue Eyes effect monster in the advertisements for Duelist Pack Kaiba. Ironically, Kaiba never used it. Blue Eyes White Dragon was stolen from him by Paradox and transformed into this card. This card and Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon are the only malefic counterparts whose right eye is not covered by their masks. This is not evident from the art of Malefic Red Eyes Black Dragon, but it is from the movie. And this card and Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon are the only dark Blue Eyes monsters. This was the first malefic monster to be released in the TCG. This card's artwork resembles that of the original artwork of the Red Eyes Black Dragon. Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. So I've already done a video on this guy on episode 44, so I'll just play that now, but if you've already seen that episode, skip ahead to the timestamp below if you want to skip the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. This card has the same theme as Red Eyes Darkness Dragon and Sorcerer of Dark Magic, as each of them is an advanced form of their original counterparts. Also, the design of Majestic Star Dragon is very similar to this card's design. As well, despite being a dragon type monster, its appearance is more like a machine type, similar to number 107, Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. Seems like this card has inspired a lot of designs, to be honest. Fun fact, did you know in the TCG, Blue Eyes Shining Dragon was released in August 2004, which was before Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon was released, which was in 2006. Until then, Blue Eyes Shining Dragon was unplayable, even though it was legal for tournament use. This card follows the same theme and has many similarities as Red Eyes Darkness Dragon, as it is an advanced, metallic-seeming, armless version of its base card. It has the same original attack and defense as its base version. It is 2 levels higher than its base version and gains 300 attack for each dragon type monster in the controller's graveyard. This is one of the hardest monsters to summon due to the fact that you need 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon to create the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon needed to summon this card, unless the user uses cards such as Future Fusion, Dragon's Mirror, or a fusion substitute monster. Ironically, if no other dragon types were in the graveyard besides the ones needed to summon it, this monster will start with less attack than its required tribute, since Shining Dragon will have 4,200 attack and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon would have had 4,500. The attack of this card in English is called Shining Neutron Blast. In the Japanese version, it's Shining Burst. The effect of this card is called Shining Nova in both versions. Its negating effect is called Shining Diffusion in the English version, while in the Japanese it's called Shining Flare. Finally, this card was created by Maximilian Pegasus as a counter to the God cards. In the Japanese version only, it ultimately destroyed itself to defeat Anubis, as explicitly stated by Pegasus himself. Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. This card is the first Blue Eyes ritual monster, as well as having the highest attack of any ritual monster. This card is also tied with Soul Drain Dragon for the highest original attack of any level 8 monster. This card's name is a reference to Soul Energy Max, the effect name of Obelisk the Tormentor, another monster used by Seto Kaiba. Both monsters also have 4,000 attack, protection against card effects, and blue borders. This card for being a ritual monster, and obelisk for being an Egyptian god card. Now, this card's pose is almost the exact same pose as the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. The only difference is that their positions are mirrored. This card, being an upgraded ritual chaos counterpart of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, references the same relation between Dark Magician and the Magician of Black Chaos. And as a result as well, I guess you can include the Dark Magician of Chaos as well. Just as how the Blue Eyes White Dragon opposes Dark Magician, this card can be considered a rival to Palladium, Oracle, MAHAD, as both are counterparts to the original card, have opposing attributes and stances in their artworks, and they appear in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side of Dimension, and act as a final trump card to Seto and Yugi. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. This card is the first Blue Eyes Synchro monster. This card's level, attack, and defense are the same of those of Azure Eyes Silver Dragon. Additionally, the last effect of this card is also intended for Azure Eyes, as it won't be destroyed due to its effect. This monster has a younger version, Dragon Spirit of White, and this monster appears in the artwork of Beacon of White. The golden hair streak at the end of this monster's tail is similar to the golden hair on the head of Legendary Dragon of White. Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon. This card can be considered a counterpart to Cyber Twin Dragon, as both monsters use 2 copies of their archetype's main monsters as their fusion materials and can attack twice per battle phase. This card and Beast Eyes Pendulum Dragon are currently the only fusion monsters that can be special summoned either with any card that fusion summons or by contact fusion. Visually, this monster appears to be a fusion of 2 Blue Eyes alternative white dragons. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Again, we've already done this episode before, so I'm going to let that video play out now, but if you want to skip it, just go to the timestamp below and here you go. So this card is the cover card of Duelist Pack Kaiba and Premium Pack Volume 1. The attack and defense of this card and the level of this card are all equal to half of those of the 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons added up respectively, though the defense is rounded up to the nearest 100. This card has the highest attack and defense of any non-effect monster in the game. The reprinted Gold 1 version of this card has mistakenly been printed with 3000 defense instead of 3800. This card appears in the artworks of Elemental Hero Pit Boss. This card is needed to special summon Blue Eyes Shining Dragon. However, when Blue Eyes Shining Dragon was first released in the TCG, which was in August of 2004, this card did not exist then. It would take until January of 2006 for this card to be made available, thus making Blue Eyes Shining Dragon summonable. The Bandai version of this card is Blue Eyes White Dragon's free body connection. In some of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games, this card is listed as having the Divine attribute. Also in a few other video games such as Forbidden Memories and the Duelist of the Roses, the spell card Ultimate Dragon was needed to summon this card. This monster has 3 counterparts, a Cyber counterpart known as Cyber End Dragon, a Galaxy Eyes counterpart known as Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, and a statue counterpart known as Blue Eyes Ultimate Statue Dragon. This monster could have been based off the Godzilla monster King Ghidorah, as they share many similarities, being that they are both 3-headed dragons and that they are said to be near indestructible. Also, their primary attacks are bolts of lightning which are fired from their mouths. This card, Des Frog, Moki Moki King, and Cyber End Dragon are the only fusion monsters to use 3 of the same monsters as fusion material monsters. This card was the first level 12 monster to appear in the anime. This card's Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories and Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monster 4 Battle of Great Duelist artwork is taken from the title page of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Duel 203. When Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon was first played, each head had its own attack and defense, and if a head was destroyed, it could be special summoned from the graveyard as a Blue Eyes White Dragon head. In the real game, this would be impossible as Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon has no effect. Also, that effect would be bullshit because that's overpowered. Its attack name in the Japanese anime is Ultimate Burst, while in the dub it's called Neutron Blast. Currently, there is at least one 3-headed dragon-type monster for 5 of the 7 monster card categories. There are Yamadron for normal monsters, Montage Dragon for effect monsters, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon and Dragon Master Knight for fusion monsters, Trident Dragon, Atomic Scrap Dragon, and Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier for Synchro monsters, as well as Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, number C107 Neo Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, and number 57 Tri-Head Dust Dragon for Xyz monsters. Only Ritual monsters and Pendulum monsters currently lack a 3-headed dragon type monster. Konami, get on that shit. Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. This monster is a retrained version of the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Visually, this monster appears to be the fusion of the 3 Blue Eyes alternative white dragons. Due to the targeting protection this monster has, it could be seen as an influence from Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, which could negate any effect that targeted it. This monster's naming scheme, Neo Blue Eyes, follows the trend as Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, number C107 Neo Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, and Neo Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon. All 3 cards are counterparts to the original Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Crimson Nova Trinity, the Dark Side Cubic Deity, can be seen as a dark counterpart to this card, as both are fusion monsters that use 3 of the same monsters as fusion materials, both have the same attack, both can attack multiple times in the same battle phase, and Crimson Nova also has a similar summoning condition. Finally, this is the only Blue Eyes monster to be a wyvern, as it only has wings without any arms. Dragon Spirit of White. Now, this monster seems to be a younger version of the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, and can be used to synchro summon it, or possibly a younger version of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, due to its lower attack and defense and its last effect, which lets you tribute summon this monster in order to summon the Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. And this monster appears in the artwork of Beacon of White. Deep Eyes White Dragon. This card greatly resembles the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, as well as the Winged Dragon of Ra and Stardust Dragon. This card could be considered a modern counterpart to the Blue Eyes Shining Dragon, due to both of them having celestial designs, effects dependent on the number of dragon-type monsters in your graveyard, and both are level 10. Azure Eyes Silver Dragon. This card is a synchro version of Blue Eyes White Dragon. The card's attack and defense are the inverse stat of Blue Eyes White Dragon. This card's level is the combined levels of Blue Eyes White Dragon and the White Stone of Legend, or Maiden with Eyes of Blue, which are appropriate synchro monsters to use to summon this card. This monster appears in the artwork of Silver's Cry, and despite the similarities in the English name, this card is not a part of the Blue Eyes archetype, as its name uses the Japanese expression for blue eyes instead of the English one, which makes it different from the rest of the Blue Eyes cards. This monster's pose is almost identical to the Blue Eyes White Dragon from the second OCG and TCG artwork, which was the cover card of the Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon booster pack. Legendary Dragon of White. This card is an Xyz and match winner version of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. It has the same attack and defense, as well as the same rank, level, and type and attributes. It is drawn in a pose similar to the first OCG and TCG artwork of the Blue Eyes. Dark Magician also received an Xyz match winner version as well, known as Legendary Magician of Dark. Now, while this card was almost impossible to obtain in the TCG, as it was exclusively available to World Championship participants until it was released in World Superstars, it has been released publicly in the OCG through the Extra Pack Sword of Night set, albeit as a difficult to pull extra secret rare card. All top World Championship prize cards, such as the following Grand Polis, the Eternal Golden City, would receive the same rarity drop. Dragon Master Knight. This monster is made up of the Blackluster Soldier and the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Dragon Master Knight is tied with Super Dimensional Robot Galaxy Destroyer for the highest attack light monster in the game. And in certain episodes of the series, as well as in a few of the video games, such as in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Duel Academy, this card is called Master of Dragon Soldier. Dragon Master Knight is meant to represent the ultimate bond between Yami and Kaiba. Kaiba-man. So this monster is based on Seto Kaiba, and coincidentally in the anime, Kaiba supposedly designed this card. As well in the anime, Kaiba-man used a deck similar to Seto Kaiba's. In episode 34 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Kaiba-man is wearing a card necklace, just like the one Kaiba and Mokuba wore, but there isn't actually a necklace on the monster, or it's just not shown due to the positions of its right hand. This card has a Red Eyes counterpart known as Red Eyes Black Chick, and this monster appears in the artwork of Meteor Stream. Paladin of White Dragon. Now, the warrior featured on the artwork of this card seems to be voyaging on an adventure, starting from rare gold armor to Kishido's spirit, ritual weapon, White Dragon Ritual, and then Paladin of White Dragon. The dragon mount it has resembles an infant Blue Eyes White Dragon. It presumably hatched from the White Stone of Legend. Fun fact, this card has a Red Eyes counterpart known as Paladin of Dark Dragon. It has a zombie type counterpart, Paladin of the Cursed Dragon, a photon counterpart, Paladin of Photon Dragon. As well, this card is the first dragon type ritual monster. Despite being displayed as a dragon-type monster in the anime incarnation, this card did not contribute to the attack gain of Blue Eyes Shining Dragon in Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie Pyramid of Light. I think, don't quote me on this, but if it did contribute its attack to the card's effect, then Seto Kaiba would have won the duel. I'll have to double check that. Rider of the Storm wins. Sage with Eyes of Blue and Dark Storm Dragon appear in this card's artwork. This monster has the same Blue Eyes White Dragon designs on his tunic that Maiden with Eyes of Blue does on her dress. White Knight Dragon. This card is an icy counterpart of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Both monsters are dragon type and have the same level attack and defense. This card's Japanese name, Blue Ice White Knight's Dragon, is a pun on Blue Eyes White Dragon. A White Knight is a knight that never becomes completely dark. It occurs in the summer months in Arctic and Antarctic circles that do not experience a midnight sun. The White Stone of Ancients. The White Stone of Legend appears in this card's artwork, and this card's attack and defense are also double that of the White Stone of Legend. Speaking of the White Stone of Legend. In appearance, this egg-like stone seems to be a counterpart to the Black Stone of Legend. This card has 1/10 of the attack and defense of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and this card appears in the artwork of Cards of Consonance. The White Stone of Ancients represents this stone before emerging from the rock. This monster may actually be the egg of an unhatched Blue Eyes White Dragon. This is further supported by the fact that its counterpart, the Black Stone of Legend, is apparently hatching into Red Eyes Black Chick, though so far no comparably baby version of Blue Eyes White Dragon exists. Maiden with Eyes of Blue. This monster is based on Kasara, who carried the spirit of the Blue Eyes White Dragon in the Dawn of the Duel arc. This card's effect of summoning the Blue Eyes White Dragon after being attacked and changing it to defense position may be a reference to how Kasara would summon her Ka while unconscious. Just as this monster is based on Kasara, Palladium Oracle Mahad is based on Mahad, the carrier of the Illusion Magician. This monster has 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon designs shown on her dress. Also, her necklace has the acronym BE, short for Blue Eyes. The design is a feature shared by Rider of the Storm Winds, who bears it on his tunic. Master with Eyes of Blue. This monster appears in the artwork of Mausoleum of White. Priestess with Eyes of Blue. The attire this monster wears is very similar to the Obelisk Blue's female uniform in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, albeit with a longer skirt. Alternatively, this could represent an older version of Maiden with Eyes of Blue, and thus an older version of Kasara. This card is the only with Eyes of Blue monster whose effects does not include the ability to special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon. Priestess is holding the Kagura Suzu, a tool used in Kagura by Miko, and this monster appears in the artwork of Mausoleum of White. Protector with Eyes of Blue. This monster appears in the artwork of Mausoleum of White. Sage with Eyes of Blue. This monster is possibly the same monster as Rider of the Storm Winds. And this monster too appears in the artwork of Mausoleum of White. And with that, guys, that is the Blue Eyes White Dragon archetype done, as well as the Eyes of Blue archetype. Let me know what you thought in the comment section below. Which is your favourite Blue Eyes monster? Don't forget to suggest some more archetypes I can do in the future. Other than that, guys, give this video a big thumbs up, and thanks a lot for watching.